This question says use the graph of y equals 3 to the x and transformations to sketch the exponential function f of x equals negative 3 to the x minus 3. Determine the domain, range, the y-intercept, and the equation of the horizontal asymptote. So let's start off by graphing y equals 3 to the x. I'm going to make a chart. I'm going to choose my x values to be negative 1, 0, and 1. We'll substitute those in to get the y values. So I'll start with the easy one. 3 to the first power would be 3. 3 to the 0 power would be 1. And 3 to the negative 1 power, that negative tells us to do the reciprocal of the base and then do the power. So that's 1/3 to the first power is 1/3. And you can see those are the same ordered pairs that they gave us in this chart right here. So that's how they got those values, by substituting them into the equation 3 to the x. So let's see what that picture looks like. So we have 0, 1, 1, 3, and negative 1 and 1/3. So we're getting this picture right here. Now the equation that we're looking at is f of x equals negative 3 times x minus 3. And this is going to be a transformation of 3 to the x. You can kind of see the 3 to the x is there, but we have these extra operations of multiplying by a negative and subtracting 3. So these are going to make changes to that graph. So let's start by talking about what that minus 3 would be. That minus 3 is going to be a shift. I know it's a shift because it has adding or subtracting. All shifts will have adding or subtracting on your function. Now that minus 3 is inside the exponent. So because it's inside the exponent, I know it's a horizontal shift. So I know that because it's inside. Then I know that it's going to go to the right because it's a minus. It's going to go right 3 units. So that minus 3 is going to shift all the points to the right 3 units. Then we have that negative. This is the minus 3, and now we're talking about the negative. Now that negative, multiplying by a negative, is going to be a reflection. And because that negative is outside of the exponent, I know that it's going to be a vertical reflection. So it's a reflection because you're multiplying by a negative 1. It's vertical because it's on the outside of the exponent. And a vertical reflection is up and down, top to bottom. So you're going to do a mirror over the x-axis. So if we were to do these two transformations, we would take this graph, this original graph right here, and we want to shift it to the right 3 and reflect it or mirror it over the x-axis. So that would take this point right here, which is 0, 1. We're going to move it to the right 3. That moves that 1 point to the right 3. Then we're going to mirror or reflect. You see this point is 1 above the x-axis. To reflect it, we'll go 1 below. So let me erase. We started with a point on y equals 3 to the x, and we moved it to our final graph of y equals negative 3 to the x minus 3. Okay, now then we'll do this point right here. This point is 1, 3. We want to move that to the right 3. So we start at 1, 3. We're going to move it to the right 3. If we go 1, 2, 3 over, and then we're 3 above the x-axis, we're going to reflect to be 3 below, to that spot right there. And then we're going to take this point right here, which is -1 1/3. -1 1/3 would be about right here. We want to move it to the right 3. 1, 2, 3. We're 1/3 above the axis. We're going to reflect, become 1/3 below. So that gives us this picture here. And that is what the graph of y equals -3 to the x minus 3 looks like. Now this question specifically asks where these points move to. So let's talk about where 1, 3 moved to. Remember we started right here. Let me highlight. We started right here at 1, 3. We moved to the right 3. If we move to the right 3, instead of being at x equals 1, we move to x equals 4. So the x-coordinate becomes 4. Now the y-coordinate was 3 above and reflected to 3 below, so that y-coordinate becomes -3. So let's talk about the point 0, 1. 0, 1 got moved to the right 3, so it was at 0 and moved to 3. That x value changes to 3. And that point was 1 above and reflected to be 1 below. So now the y-coordinate is -1. But then for the last point, which started right here, at x equals -1, we move to the right 3, that's going to put us at an x value of 2. The y-coordinate was 1/3 above the x-axis. You reflect it to be 1/3 below, so that's going to change to -1/3. Okay, the next question says, what is the domain? The domain of this exponential started off being -∞ to infinity. We did a few transformations, but the domain stays -∞ to infinity. For the range, we look over here at the starting graph. The range started at 0 and went to infinity, but on our new graph, because of the reflection, our range starts at -∞ and goes all the way up to 0. So our range goes from -∞ to 0, not including 0. What is the y-intercept? Okay, so to find a y-intercept, we let x equals 0, so f of 0 is -3 times 0 minus 3. That's -3 to the -3rd, -1/3 to the 3rd. The negative in the exponent changes it to the reciprocal of the base, and that 1/3 to the 3rd is 1/27th. So we have -1/27th as our y-intercept. Then it says, what is the equation of the horizontal asymptote? Okay, your horizontal asymptote on the original graph was right along the x-axis. That's the line, the horizontal line, y equals 0. And since we only did a shift to the right and a reflection, our horizontal asymptote didn't move, and it is still y equals 0. Thank you for checking out my videos. Have a great day.